Welcome to this week's edition of the Jumpseat, a weekly spotlight bringing you key industry thought leaders, subject matter experts, and next generation insight to those things affecting your fire department. Hosted by myself, David Durstein, and my cohort in crime here, John Martins, two Jumpseat firemen. We like to take an occasional look behind the scenes at the 200 plus years of fire service tradition, product designs, as well as manufacturing technology that's used today in our space. So welcome. We're glad you guys are able to be with us here today. And we got another exciting show. I know we've been putting together a pretty good series here, and I'm looking forward to our guests here again. John, I'll let you kind of take it from here. And what's happening in the fire service this week?
Sure. Thanks, Dave. So week 8 is today. So we are now 2 months in. We started when COVID was really peaking and we just didn't know what was going on. And now it's like we kind of know what's going on. We're still not sure when everything's opening or reopening. And it depends on the areas that we're all from, I guess. But yeah, so eight weeks. Here we are. So I wanted to kick things off just with a little spotlight on some industry stuff. This came from an article that was posted actually in January this year, but I saw a repost of it here about a week ago. It came from the U.S. Fire Administration, so I was going to read that real quick. Basically, they release periodic reports every so often, and the one that came out here in early January reflected fire data from '08 all the way to 2017. And the latest edition, it's based on data sets from INFRS as well as approximately 32 million annual responses. So pretty comprehensive, but it also sources other data from NFPA, state fire marshal offices, as well as the U.S. Census Bureau. So anyway, I would definitely, we'll link everybody to it, but one thing that stood out to me was just about fire death and injury trends. And basically the statistic was, how they've been tracking the fire problem in the U.S. since 1974 when they started tracking this data. And since that time, the most striking reductions have been in the number of fire deaths. So from an estimated 12,000 per year back in 74, and the thing to note there was the population was 214 million citizens, to then 2017, 3,645 deaths. So 12,000 deaths to 3,000 or 3,600 deaths. And now the population now here a few years ago was 320 million versus 214 million. So a major reduction there. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, the reasons for that are a combination of the way we build buildings, especially smoke detectors, education, and some sprinkler systems in commercial and residential. So pretty neat statistic there. They also said in the report, in closing, they said, according to the report, the problem that remains is trying to reach the hard to reach, meaning providing the education to those that are hard to reach, hard to get a hold of to educate. So anyway, that report is awesome, and I'd recommend any department check it out. It's a free report you can download there at the usfa.fema.gov website. It's one of those things, great tool to provide to your city council, board of commissioners, even the news media. So they just don't understand what we do. So check that out. Great article.
Yeah, I saw that same thing, and I've watched those statistics over the years, and I think there's a great message and a great story for the fire service holistically. I think hats off to all of the fire departments who are out there every single day doing the education, doing their part to keep the community safe. I know it's a key piece of our department specifically. During Fire Prevention Week, we spend a lot of time with the safety trailer at all the schools in our area, and really working with the younger kids. I think we've also been utilizing a lot of the grants that are out there for smoke detectors. Yep. And encouraging them. My department, we even canvassed one of our local trailer parks and went door to door on a Saturday morning and made sure that if they needed batteries, we had batteries for them. If they didn't have smoke detectors, we could install them for them. And, it really went a long way for just community relations. But, our major goal is we don't get those those fatalities, those fire fatalities, which are horrible on any incident. So
Right.
great work to the U.S. Fire Service and their efforts there from prevention as well as sprinkler education.
Super.
You know what, John, I want to make sure we have enough time today. I had a quick thing I was going to bring up on some news in the fire service, but I think I'm going to hold off till next week.
Perfect.
Because I think it's going to be great if we can just jump in the jump seat here. And really, we got some great guests that are going to talk about some education and training pieces. And so why don't you just go ahead and introduce our guest today, and let's just jump into the jump seat.
Perfect. Sounds good, Dave. Yeah, so I got to know it's this couple, actually. It's not just one, it's two, because they're a team, and which is awesome. Got to know them a couple years ago, I guess, and just really been watching them build something pretty cool within the region in the Midwest, but then reaching far beyond that. And so today we'll talk a little bit about a special event that they've built from literally the ground up, but then also we are going to talk training tactics and maximizing each of our department's ability to train effectively and become better for each alarm we respond on. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them in here while I introduce them, but I'd like you guys to take a second to meet David and Beth Woodward. David is a training officer with Lake Ozark Fire Protection District in Missouri, and his partner in crime, Beth, from what David says, she's kind of the mastermind, the brain, the organization behind what they've done as a couple. And Dave, he digs a lot of holes, but Beth just, I guess, still puts up with him. So anyway, I just wanted to say welcome to the jump seat, and I look forward to getting to talk to you guys and you guys sharing what you're doing with us and the viewers. So thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank
We're
you.
Excited to be here today.
Absolutely. So I'll just kind of kick off the first question, and this will be more training related, the first few here. So Dave, kind of in your role, feel free to chime in, but give us a quick background of yourself, your experience in the fire service, and kind of what's gotten you to where you are today.
Okay. So I try not to do a real big canned thing, in 1997, but I started fire service in 1997 over in Warrensburg, Missouri, for the Johnson County Fire District. And I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but my brother said, come down to the station. You're making a lot of bad choices in life so far, so let's get you straightened out. And he got me on the fire department, and it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It helped me understand my purpose in life and where I was supposed to be. So I got on there and I got really involved at that volunteer department quickly, and grew throughout the years there, was given a lot of opportunities for growth, and ended up becoming one of the first training officers the department had, and worked at establishing a lot of aggressive strategies and tactics that are still used nowadays there. And then in 2006, I had the opportunity to become a career firefighter at Lake Ozark Fire. So I've been there the last 14 years, and I've advanced just from an EMT through paramedic. I was a step-up captain, which is like fills in if the captain's off, and then I accepted the position in training officer in 2015, I think, and here we are.
Sure, and thank you. And Beth, real quick, tell us your quick bio as well, just so those who don't know you can hear a little bit about it.
Sure. You bet. So I have a master's degree in nursing education, and I teach adult learners. And so I have been a nurse educator for almost 10 years now. And David and I put our heads together. And so as he started getting into his position, I used some of what I knew with adult education and nursing. And we get together. In addition to that, I also have had the opportunity, thanks to some awesome friends of ours in the fire service that are into research as well, to review and do some research and give some feedback from a nursing perspective on current research related to fire fatalities or firefighter fatalities and line of duty deaths, and some fit for duty stuff. So I try to keep a foot in the fire service, even though I am not a firefighter. I like that aspect of it. So I've tried to actually contribute using what I can, my degree and my knowledge with that.
Super.
I think that's a great, a great marriage, right? Two educators right there. And then also taking part of both of your passion of teaching and tying them compatibly together. So that's great for both of you. And we're glad to have you here. And so, Dave, I want to kind of throw a question at you here really quick. And so a little bit more on the training side from your background, as far as far as training goes, where do you feel we as the fire service are actually, doing great things? Where are we excelling? And then maybe at the same time, let's flip it over and say, hey, where are we lacking from a fire service, from a training perspective?
Okay. So I don't know how crazy this sounds, but to me, one of the things we're doing really well about nowadays is we're sharing information more than we ever have before. At the flick of a phone, I can get current information or what other departments are doing. I can reach out to these guys that are going to fires every day in these cities and find out what's working and what's not working just through like social media or YouTube or whatever. Now the caveat to that is not everybody's going through that evidence or that information, and they're not picking out what actually is applicable to their departments. So one of the big, things that I see in training is just that guys will watch something on YouTube and they think they know it versus going out and actually trying to do those things, and then trying to do those things instead of trying to do those things like for the first time at that fire that they finally got. So there's a really big disconnect between all the knowledge that's out there and then the application of the knowledge. So is that?
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. And actually, I'm gonna jump back a couple of episodes, right? Yeah. So, we had a chief from the Minneapolis area on here, and he does a lot on body physiology and conditions, and so. I'm blanking on his name right now. Help me, John.
Chief Gasway. Yep. Chief Gasway.
Gasway. Thank you very much. Yeah, Rich Gasway. Sure. But one of the things he actually kind of talked about that same thing when he was on here, Dave, and that he mentioned, the endorphins that kick off in the brain and what happens in the brain is just crazy, particularly when you're under stress. And that, one of his biggest challenges is trying to make sure, when we've heard it before, you want to train like you're actually going to perform on the actual fire, right? Yes. So Don't show up in shorts, right? Because you're probably not going to be in shorts in your fire gear, right? Or make sure you're conditioning yourself. Maybe not. Depends. But show up like you're going to actually come to a training like you're ready to perform your Absolutely. Day of duty, and then train like you are that same time. Train with that intensity, because otherwise you're not going to perform, or it's going to be harder for you to do those things when you actually are faced with it in the emergency. So I think you bring a really good thing up. Just because I watched it on YouTube doesn't mean I know it or learned it. Make sure you actually apply it, right?
Yeah, that's really important, because you can't wait till the emergency to try to remember the thing you watched. So you've got to practice it, and you've got to get the steps down and understand why you're making those steps before you can see it in a big picture application. So, skills training is great. Skills to meet, minimum competency is fantastic to go through the mechanics of it. But applying it towards a real world scenario, that's where the rubber meets the road for guys and gals out there. So
I always like the quotation that's basically saying, don't just train until you get it right. Train till you cannot get it wrong, because that's under stress is when you have way more emotions, and not just emotions, but chemicals and drugs in your brain that can occlude what you normally would just do fine on the training pad. So Absolutely. Anyway, everything you're saying is exactly along those lines. What about on the flip side? Just other than, just being a YouTube watcher and not putting this into practice, what other things can we do better that you're seeing at your level, or things you've noticed in the last few years that's just maybe not up to par?
Number one, I think we're destroying everybody with too much information from above sometimes, administratively in departments. And I'm not saying mine specifically or anyone specifically, just generally, we send guys, all these emails, all these changes, next week something else changes, and we just send them things. And that becomes it bogs them down on all the things that they feel, because it all runs downhill on them. And then, sometimes we just expect people to do things because we told them, and we never took the time to show them how or get them somebody to help them get where they need to be. There's a big there, that lack of mentorship or that one-on-one time with these guys. And so if you wait for the training officer to run around for his minimum hours he's required a month to give you everything, and sprinkle it around, it's not going to work. You need that one-on-one daily mentorship and growth with these guys, especially these young guys. Everybody wants to blame the young guys. What about the other guys that are just sitting around that could be teaching them the things?
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
So for some of the departments out there that maybe are missing out or maybe just there's not a great spot training wise, you talked a little bit about social media and YouTube. Are there any specific other places where you would say, go here to learn more or,
sure.
create more effective and, just where would you send them maybe if they're looking for more resources?
Well, I mean, they could come to our conference. That'd be the number one.
We're getting there.
Networking is really huge. Finding mentors that are outside of your area, people that you can talk to. Yeah. So I have people that reach out to me throughout the month that don't live anywhere around me because they just need my perspective because it's different than where they're at, or I can see it differently looking back on it. And so that's really big. A lot of states, for example, the state of Missouri generates grant money from commercial fireworks permits. It goes into an account and there's a commission that divvies out the funds to different education things. Well, it's been established and been around for tons of years, and there are still a lot of people in the state of Missouri that aren't aware of it. And you can get some of the, Jason Hovelman, Craig Bone with Let's, any of these guys, Mufridi, any of these guys can come in and do training for free at your department at your schedule, and they don't utilize that resource. So that's really important. Also, I think empowering the guys that have the abilities within your department to make some of those changes on that low level and get some guys up. I think that's really a missed piece in all this. Maybe you've got the resources at your department now and you don't realize it because they're not a captain or whatever. So
that's a great piece right there. And you kind of led us in a little bit there with your conference specifically, right? And that's one of the things we wanted to have you guys on here, both David and Beth, to talk about, because you guys are doing some really awesome stuff there in the Ozarks region. And so I know it expands outside of the local area as well. And so maybe let's slide over to the Revolution. And why don't you give us a little bit about that story behind it? Where did it come from? Where is it going? How do I get there? I know you got all that stuff. Give us the lowdown.
So basically, a few years ago, I wanted to bring in a fire chief out of Florida, Kurt Isaacson, to do some training. And actually, I wanted to take several guys to Florida, is how this started. And it wasn't going to work out for my budget. It wasn't going to be a great benefit. Like we weren't sure how to make it work at Lake Ozark. Chief Birdley said, you can go down there and then whatever, when you learn something, bring it back. And I was like, so I went down there and it was a phenomenal experience. And it really, I saw a lot of their strategies and tactics that they were teaching needed to be seen and heard here at a greater length. So I said, how much to bring you up? And we started working on that. And the Lake Area firefighters helped us out and helped us with that and get going. And then the origination of the concept, it just kind of kept growing from there. We saw a tremendous need, not just in Missouri, but in the Midwest, to have a place for firefighters to go and grow and share these, I don't want to say modern concepts, but current practices, the things that we know are working in the fire service that maybe your departments are reluctant to make those changes on. We needed a place like you can come here and you're always going to get the most current search practices. You're going to get the most current nozzle, gallons per minute flow. That seems to be the big thing these days, right? And all these things. So it just kind of grew into a thing. And then different instructors started reaching out and, hey, can we come? And can we come? And, somebody said Revolution's pretty bold. And I said, it is. What else? We just kind of owned it and rolled on. And so we're really excited to keep moving. So that's where it came from. So we're on our third year. And we have already surpassed last year's ticket sales already. And we're about 6 weeks out. So we still have we can sell. We still have availability at laketactics.com to register, and you can see who all's coming.
Well, and for anybody that wonders about, is COVID affecting this? I would say, from what I understand, it's not going to, right? It may restrict a few attendees from attending, but this is happening, right? This is the thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want to talk on the COVID for a
Yeah,
second?
the state is opening back up. We're excited about that, but we've been in close contact with our local health officials just to make sure, as we're going, are we on the up and up? We want to be safe and we want to do what's best for everyone. And they say, nope, keep going. And they told us that by the time July rolls around, what we're doing will be well above and beyond what is required even now. And so we're excited about that. And we've had a lot of great vendors that have come in and said, yeah, we'll help you out. And we're going to supply mask and hand sanitizer. And we're doing all of the things at the hotel and at the facilities to keep everybody safe. So we didn't want, if we were going to have the conference, we didn't want folks to feel unsafe. And we wanted everybody to feel comfortable, like they would have what they needed. And so we're really excited that we get to kind of, I don't want to say take it off the table, but we've addressed that issue and we feel pretty good about it.
Well, that's neat. All jokes aside, it's neat to see you guys as a team. Dave, you're coordinating a lot of people, a lot of relationships, and cultivating like much needed training, right? For not just the region, but you're bringing in people from, what are some of the states they're coming from? You told me the other day, I can't remember.
So we got guys from California.
Wow.
There's a guy from Delaware. I think it's Delaware or Vermont. The states all over. I think it could be Maine. It could be Maine. It's somewhere out east.
Yeah.
South Carolina. There's a department in South Carolina. It's sending 8 people in a van. Because when you talk to them, some of the more urban states or more highly populated states, they're still on a lot of restrictions. So you can't get hands-on training in a lot of these other states right now. Missouri's opened up, but unfortunately, the Royal Fulls in Kansas City had to cancel their hands-on training this year. So did the University of Missouri. So we're the only hands-on training conference left in Missouri this year. And really, as that looks like a good thing, but that's really unfortunate for the state of Missouri because that's 3 different opportunities for guys to get better versus 1. But they're coming in from Florida, Arkansas,
Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky.
Kentucky. So they're from all over Tennessee,
Illinois.
So it's pretty cool that we're just a little thing out in the middle, the Lake of the Ozarks, in the middle of Missouri, and more people know us for our Netflix show than anything else. Comcast thing for us, but so it's really cool, the support. And these guys, some of these guys have Wisconsin. Some of these guys haven't seen each other since last year, and it's became like an annual reunion for this revision, this growth of brotherhood that we're kind of lifting out of the ashes in certain aspects. And they get together and they can have that weekend together, and they can talk shop and they can hang out and it recharges them for the next year. And then they come in and get recharged next year and roll on. So
I know you told me it's 3 days of training, right?
Yes.
And what are some of the big headlines? What are some of the focused areas this year? If I'm coming out to the conference, what am I going to see, and what do the classes I got to be at?
Yeah. So number 1, our keynote this year, Mike Dugan, retired FDNY captain. I think he was truck 123. Amazing, just an amazing guy. If you've ever had like 5 minutes with a man, I wish this guy was my captain, amazing. So Mike Dugan is huge. This year we're blessed to have probably, in my opinion, one of the strongest engine company classes we've ever had. Jonah Smith, Todd Edwards, Justin Mann, Lendell Woods, Jonathan Brumley. They're all coming in to do a big engine. We call it the Mile High to the Dirty South because, from Denver to Charleston, or Charlotte, I'm sorry. And, pretty awesome. John Buttrick with Coastal Fire Training's in doing a Through the Lot class. That's really cool. Chief Craig Haig from Hanover Park, Illinois, has the last 3 years been doing a Chief Officer Development class. So when I was promoted to training officer, I knew how to do training, like let's go spray water on this or whatever, but I didn't really know how to do like forecasting and vision casting for a budget. How do I sit down and draw an annual, how do you do a comprehensive like plan? How do you do any of that administrative stuff? And then you start talking to other chiefs and whatnot, and they're like, yeah, I have no idea either. We've just been doing what the guy before me did. So I was like, we need to create a revolutionary change within how we think about the administrative side of the fire service. So Peg came in and he's on his third year. And if you're an aspiring chief officer or a chief officer, you need to take that class. It'll transform you. Like, I don't know anyone that walked out of that class and was like, that was boring. It's awesome. And he's an FDIC instructor, and he's I think he helps with the National Fallen Firefighter Council, all kinds of, just a good man. So that's huge. Who else we got? The Auburn, Steve Kempker, Rescue Redefine, the extrication class. Very aggressive current techniques in vehicle extrication on modern vehicles with modern tools. He's got a whole junkyard set aside for him. We've got 5 seats left in that, so we're pretty excited there.
So jump on it quick if you want in there, huh?
Quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the Mile High to the Dirty South only has 5 seats too, so we sold 3 yesterday.
So it's filling up, and okay, so I know you threw the website out there a minute ago, but if I want to know more about it, where do I go find this stuff? How do I get signed up for those classes? I want to come. What do I do?
LakeTactics.com. It's that easy.
LakeTactics.com. And I think we're going to throw it up in our comment section. John, you might even have it up on the screen here as well. So LakeTactics.com. Awesome. And what, 3 days, it's a great venue, Lake of the Ozark, beautiful area of the country. Just got to be there. What are the dates?
Yeah, July 17th through the 19th. There's a huge vendor show on the Friday night on the 17th, where all our sponsors and vendors are going to be. We're going to have apparatus and stuff. So like, if you're interested in looking at a SAM system, for example, or whatever, these guys are going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. Whatever you're looking for. So even if you're not coming to the conference, still come to the vendor show and show the vendors and sponsors some love.
Super.
Absolutely.
There's one other thing too. I know we got to wrap up in a minute or two, but I did, just one thing that's neat that you guys have done here. You're not doing this to make a buck, right?
Oh, no.
You're not doing this for yourselves. And tell us quickly why, and tell us where some of those proceeds go to, because I thought that was just awesome when I learned that.
So we were talking about this earlier. When we started this, like Dave was talking about, the idea came that we just knew firefighters needed training, and it wasn't about the money. Like, we didn't want to make money. So our partners, the Lake Area Fools, they are our wonderful hosts this year, and all of the proceeds, every bit of them, Dave and I take none, they go back into the Fools organization, and they pay for training. They send firefighters places. They help with injured firefighters and their families, anything like that. So the money goes back in the community and back into training, and we are just excited about that. That's our way we feel like we can both give back to the fire service. So this is, we don't see any of that. We just donate our time, and we want it to be awesome. At the end of the day, I want my husband to come home, and I want everybody else's spouses to come home. And I think you achieve that by doing what needs to be done and putting in the work to make sure that you're using current evidence-based practices, and that you get that training, you get the time to be hands-on. And so we've worked really hard to offer some awesome things, and we want that money to filter back into training for the future.
And for those who saw last week, we talked about leaving the fire service better than when we got in it. I say more? You're doing it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for what you're doing and what you've already done to get it where it is. So hopefully I'll be there, I know, and I hope to see more of the guys and gals watching to join as well. So
we're pretty excited. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, Beth and Dave, thank you so much for joining us here today in the jump seat. It's been great to have you. And for all those who are watching live or those who are listening on the podcast side of things, go check out the website, learn more about the Revolution Conference, and get yourself signed up. It's next month. July 17th to the 19th. Like I said, beautiful venue, great part of the country, and it's good hands-on training. So thank you all for joining in. Next week, we're actually going to take a little trip south here in the U.S. We're going to go to Milledgeville, Georgia. We're actually going to do a visit with the Fouts Brothers organization. Scott Eden's the president there. It's going to give us a look behind the scenes of their brand new state-of-the-art facility. So we can't wait to see what they're doing and building fire trucks there in Georgia. And we're looking forward to taking a trip to the south. So thanks again for tuning in. Remember, you can find us here on Facebook or on YouTube. We're also on idexfireandsafety.com/the-jumpseat. And you can find us in the IDEX Fire and Safety blog as well. So by the way, if you got ideas, you got suggestions, things you want to see, throw it in our comments. We love to hear from you. Give us ideas, suggestions, and we'll try to bring it to you as best we can. So with that, thank you all for joining us here in the Jump Seat today. A big thank you out to David and Beth Woodward, and good luck with the conference. And we appreciate you guys. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.